Welcome to the Gym Breakthrough Podcast. This show is about one thing and one thing only, turning your gym into a thriving business you love to own. So if you want to know what it really takes to grow your membership, make more money, and build a rock-solid community of raving fans, you've come to the right place. All this information is 100% free, so please subscribe to and review our podcast. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Gym Breakthrough Podcast. I am Marcus Guerzi, and I am here with the amazing Emily Schneller, Breakthrough Specialist and Program Manager here at Gym Breakthrough. And today we're going to be talking about class experience and why it's so important to identify what your ideal class looks like and to have systems in place to make sure that it is happening each and every session that you have on your schedule. Emily, thanks for being here. How's it going?
It's going great, Marcus. How are you?
It's another lovely day. Hard to complain. Life is good.
Well, the weather in my neck of the woods isn't as great as yours, but otherwise it's going great.
So you don't like cold and rainy?
I don't like cold and rainy. I would rather sunny California on a day like today. Okay, so we're talking about coaching today, and specifically in a gym setting, obviously. But I think we both can agree that good coaching is more than just about understanding how good movement works. So there are a lot of qualities to look for in an effective coach, and we're going to dive into more of what that looks like later in the episode. But I'm curious if you had a teacher or a coach or a mentor in your life that stands out, and if you can identify what made that person great.
Yeah, great question. I would say, one of my mentors, Mark, what I think made him so great was that actually he and John, my other main mentor, both they had gone through doing it the hard way or the wrong way for a long time, realized that that it was not working, then made the conscious decision to change their destiny basically, and adjust get in line with their purpose, their skill set, and just relentlessly move towards that dream until they actually became like master level at what they do. And the fact is that path that they have like galvanized these skills of whether it is around mindset work or it's around selling or it's around building businesses or building teams, that they just did the reps and they did it with the big picture in mind and not making excuses, not because we all start in a place of not knowing and we have to get calibrated, and something usually has to trigger us to say, okay, I'm done with this. I'm tired of this being so hard or being so broke or whatever it is. And you make the decision. And what I see in Mark in particular is that when he coaches, and I was literally just listening to a recording from a session he did with us last week. And what's so inspiring to me about it is how he can connect to doesn't matter who else is there. This was a larger group coaching environment. He was kind of running. I think there was about 30 of us there, and he was able to connect with anyone on any level because he literally had he's one of those stories where stages of where he was literally so broke and struggling so bad, living in his car, came from a place of where the parent, his father had like major alcoholism, totally screwed the family up, and yet no excuses, makes it happen, and is able to dig so deep and connect with people on no matter what level they're at right now, and to be able to show them the next step, and to be able to get someone to inspire that person to take the next step, regardless of where they are, even if they're at step 1 of a 10,000, to connect back to level 1 and to say, great, here's level 2, let's take that next step and push someone to do so. And that to me is just the most inspiring thing when I see a teacher who they're never too advanced for someone. They're never too cool for school and not able to tap into someone's magic, someone's potential, show it to them and enable them, empower them to take the next step.
Yeah, Definitely. I think if something comes really easily to somebody in the very beginning, they might not be the best to teach it because they can't relate to the person that struggles and give them the tools to help them out of that place. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I love that story.
Awesome. What about you?
In my case, my choir director in high school was a really big influencer on my life. Um, I've mentioned it on the podcast before, but I have a degree in music. So my career path back in the day was influenced by him. But I think the thing that made him so great was that he was relentless. He had major expectations for his students, and we rose to the occasion and we wanted to impress him. We knew that if we got a compliment from him, it was sincere because he didn't just dole out compliments all the time. So I really believe that just his relentlessness really helped shape me. So yeah.
Love that.
And that's how I made it to Louisiana. I mean, I went to LSU because he had really good relationships with the choir director there. So I met my husband as a result. That's how I made it to New Orleans. So yeah, big influencer on my life.
Love that. Yeah, it's amazing how when someone shows you what they feel you're capable of, and you can believe that, what it can inspire you to do and get out of the stage that you're in. So powerful.
Yep.
Awesome. So today we're digging in, and just to clarify, we're not here to talk about how to coach movement. We're not here to talk about, how technically sound someone necessarily has to be. What we're talking about today is to define your ideal class experience for your brand so that you can have, you can create consistency. First of all, have the best case scenario identified, and then how to, we're going to go over how to do so. Like, first of all, what needs to be involved in that, then also how to implement that so that you can make sure that this is happening each and every class. Because, having different coaches, each creating a different class experience, is a much bigger problem than a lot of gym owners think. They think that it's like, oh, well, we write the program, we let the coaches just kind of do their own thing. Now, you might be lucky. You may be the 1 in a million who's got nothing but perfect coaches and everyone delivers on all the most important things every time, and you're getting away with it and you're like, I don't get the point of this episode. Good for you. That's not most of us. And even if you've got really, really good coaches, it's not about how good they're coaching the movement. It's, are they creating the consistent brand experience that you need to have happen each and every time, right? Have you noticed that some classes get better attendance than others when a different coach coaches them, right? If you look at your schedule, you're like, oh, well, everyone likes, Cameron's classes and nobody likes Susie's classes. That something's going on there. That's not a good thing, right? It shouldn't be that, if you move the coaches, then all of a sudden the attendance shifts with it. That's when you've got a problem. And I think that a lot of coaches are really concerned, or a lot of owners, especially in the first kind of few years of business, are really concerned with handing off classes to coaches because they realize that attendance usually or satisfaction with the program goes down when you're not the one doing it. And that is a dangerous place to get stuck. Because if you get stuck there, you are self-employed. You are not a business owner. You are just a probably not even that well-paid coach with a lot of additional responsibilities, and you are going to be stuck in there forever. And what it's all about is making sure that we identify what that magic is that makes your classes so special, and then teach that, and then reinforce that over and over and over, because getting that right will not only help your brand stand out in your marketplace, it's going to help you get better referrals. It's going to help you have better retention. And when you have better retention, people are showing up more, people get better results, all the things happen, right?
Yeah, it's not scalable, right?
Exactly.
If you're the one coaching all the classes, you can't scale. And most leaders that I talk to, most business owners that I talk to, ideally they want to be working more on the business rather than in the business. And if you cannot duplicate what you are doing and the experience that you are providing to your members, then you're stuck. You're stuck coaching every class and you can't scale. So yeah, coaching takes practice and experience. So you can't expect all of your staff to immediately be on your level if you've been at it for several years. But as a leader, it's important that you are able to effectively communicate exactly what your standards are and help your team develop as coaches.
Awesome. All right, so let's jump in. I think the first thing that someone needs to do is to define the ideal class flow, right? So what are all the things that need to happen in order for a class to be a home run, and work backwards from there, right? So make your list. So we would have, what would be involved in that? What are some things for you?
I mean, honestly, I think it begins before the class even starts. I know for us, we have an expectation that's written down, that the coach should be on the floor 15 minutes prior to class starting.
Mm-hmm.
And you're on the floor engaging with members. You're not off in a corner, like looking at your phone or looking at the programming for the first time and scrolling through the screen on the floor. You know, you are engaging with members, you're learning about them, you're asking them how they feel from the last class. You know, anything that you can do to build that relationship with them, that starts before the class starts.
Love that. Yep, 100%. We did the same thing. And a lot of people kind of, when they first hear this, they're like, wait a minute, are you paying them to do so? We sure did. We made sure that that was actually part of the class. The class was, even though the class was an hour long, they were paid for 90 minutes because it's the 15 minutes before and the 15 minutes after to connect with people, warm welcome, excited to see them, and you are receiving that class, right? And all the things that you mentioned. And then after class, it's chit-chatting with people, it's whatnot. Now, for a lot of gyms, they have back-to-back classes, so that's not always possible. But if it is important to you or is possible, we had breaks between our classes for exactly this reason. We intentionally, and it wasn't like this when we started, we actually ended up spacing all of our classes by 15 minutes so that we had this window in between, and it made a huge difference for people because of the additional connection and relationship building we could do. Reminder, you are in the relationship business. So that should be the most important thing. People feeling seen and important is at the very top of your list if you're trying to build a healthy community. So we've got before and after, like quality time. Now, a big one for us too was the initial whiteboard presentation. How do you open a class, right? It can't just be, all right, guys, come on up. Today we're gonna do this, that. Like, I will fire you today if that happens. Because
fire fast, right? Yes.
Right, you have to look at the whole class as having a beginning, a middle, and an end. And you have to have a strong start. So high energy, smiles, like authentically connecting with people and making people, getting people as excited as they've been looking forward to this class feeling. Because people show up excited and ready to do the thing. And then if you're a bummer when the class starts, it's a pretty big missed opportunity. You have a chance to meet them where they were hoping to be met and then exceed it. So great energy, smiles, eye contact, names, and if humor is your thing, that was our thing. We're kind of making jokes and pulling people up, and making people smile within the first 10 seconds was always important. And so that energy wise was really important. The second piece was, well, what are all the things that we want to make sure are addressed at the beginning of every class, right? So we had warm welcome, then we would go over, here's what we're doing today, here's what we're looking for, here's why it's important, and or how it plays in the context of the bigger program. As you guys know, the last couple of weeks we were building up on this, so today we're going to be doing some testing and blah, blah, blah. Help them understand a little bit of what it is that you're doing. We also made sure that they addressed any events that we had, and we had a very specific way that we wanted people to present upcoming events. So it's not just, hey guys, remember we've got bowling night on Friday. We want to see you guys there. To actively engage with people and to call people out, like, Greg, what are you doing on Saturday? Or what size shoes do you wear? Great, I have your bowling shoes ready. You can borrow mine. And like little things like this to really get people engaged and excited about the event. So the opening of the class was a big deal for us. What do you guys do at RU to like make sure every class starts off with a bang?
Yeah, same kind of thing. We start with announcements. Our tagline is get fit, have fun. So just like you, we want to make sure that it's fun and that people are smiling right off the bat. Something that we do at RU that may be a little bit unique, I think a lot of CrossFit gyms do this, but we start the class in a circle. Everybody goes around the circle, introduces themselves, and answers an icebreaker question. So the question is different every day and just gets people talking. I have a member who said, I think people at RU know me more than my husband knows me just from these answers to these silly questions. So it may sound silly, but it's a big part of like our community and getting people talking and feeling comfortable right off the bat.
Love it, love it. From there, I think the next thing to look at is the individual sections. So for example, we had kind of templated blocks of different modules, if you will, for the class that we would look at. So for example, warm up always had specific criteria. Like, here's what we're gonna do. We always explain what we did. We would explain why we're doing this piece of warm up. So if, hey, we're gonna be doing Frankenstein's, we wanna get those hamstrings going, etc. Like, because we're gonna be doing some deadlifting and yada yada. We always a little bit of context around each individual piece as people are doing it, as well as always having to demo. So you always have to demo perfect movement on every single piece. And if it's not you, or if someone's like, well, what if I have an injury, or I'm too tired or sore? Great, pull someone up, but someone has to demonstrate perfect movement. I don't care if this person's seen you do a Samson stretch 90 times, 91 times, I'm gonna make sure it's an inch better than it was the last time, right? So hammering those kinds of details. So we had like a warm-up standard, and then we had a section standard. So section for us was like part one could be a strength section, it could be a skill session, but those same ideas, okay, here's what we're doing, we're gonna demo it, we're gonna get someone involved. Was there a social component, by the way, in the warm-up and in this piece to where maybe I can partner people up, or to do whatever, some sort of drill together, or stretch together, whatever it is. Can I get people interacting as they work through it? And that's how we would kind of structure the rest of the class. Then we have the same thing for an outro, right? A solid close to a class. Make sure everyone feels like there's an end. Is there a bookend at the end of the session to close things out? Get everyone back together like you have your huddle in the beginning. We would also do the same thing at the end and pull people back in to say, all right, great job. Hey, Kenny, I loved how you kept going on those kettlebell swings. I know you wanted to set it down. I saw you power through that. Awesome job. Susie, way to keep it up on those runs. I loved how you pushed through that at the end and picked it up and sprinted around the corner. Like, calling people out for things that they did really well, and then having everyone either hit everyone with a high five, or put your hands in the middle, or do something fun to close it out. Then sell the next class. Like, hey guys, and if you guys had fun today, you're gonna love tomorrow. We're gonna be doing some Tabata work. So this is some interval stuff in case if you don't remember. I wanna see you guys here. Who's gonna be here tomorrow? And like, selling the next session, getting people excited about the next thing. All right, make sure you hit everyone with a high five, put your equipment away nicer than you found it. We'll see you guys tomorrow, or something like that. So having, again, like a thought out, what are all the things I wanna have happen at each one of these sections, making the checklist for it. And then now you have your standard that you can expect for each one of these. So that was just a walkthrough of like the things that we did. Are there any other big ones that you like, or that you do in your classes, that you think create a wow factor for you guys at Rue?
Yeah. So one example is like, if there is a workout that's for time, let's say it takes most people 15 minutes to complete, but once you complete it, you're done. Having the expectations just for your members to not collect their keys and leave if they finish in 12 minutes, like
right.
If you finish early, great, go pick somebody else up, cheer them on, and directing your coaches to encourage that. Awesome job, Susie, like go pick that person up, like encourage them now. Right. And that way, whoever is working last has the whole class cheering them on, will do so much for your class experience and your culture overall.
100%, love that. So these are just some ideas for you guys to kind of get the juices going on some things that we've done that created our unique brand experiences. And another really powerful thing to consider in this is, remember, people are coming, one of the big draws to micro gyms is that personal connection, is the fact that, like I said, they feel seen. This is a place where a lot of adults go, is really oftentimes their only social outlet. Right? This is where they get to go be adults. That's not at work, and that's not at home, often as parents with kids and the chaos of that is home life, right? And this is their place to go do something positive for themselves, be around other people like them, to have fun, to be social. So if you can think about that, what can you do to foster all of that stuff? And one of the biggest tricks in the book, and oldest tricks in the book, is using someone's name. And as simple as that sounds, we had that as a requirement for every single session. You had to use every single person's name at least once. and have a coachable moment with them where you zoomed in with them and either acknowledged something or cued them, watched, corrected, got feedback. They had to have a moment where they felt like they were coached just one-on-one in every single class. And so using the name and then making sure that they had a moment with the coach, that was for us the active, some of the key ingredients for our active experience. So now that we've gone through and given you guys some ideas, right? And we said, okay, the first thing you've got to do is figure out what your ideal class looks like. By the way, a trick that I think is really powerful if you have a team in place that you want to get on board to help you with this is get them to participate. Maybe you do your initial draft, but then call a team huddle, and get them in the room and say, guys, I want to identify what the ideal active experience is. What do you think makes a perfect class? And let everyone contribute. And even if you may have already written some of these things down yourself, you get them to participate in the process and let them feel like they're contributing. And once you've gotten everyone to participate in it, you then create kind of your final documented version where you write out, hey, this is what our ideal class experience is, and kind of structure it out. And this is something that we do with you in our program, by the way, where we give you templates to work off of structure and so on. But the next thing is to say, okay, guys, now that we've identified what this is, and we got to make sure that all of you understand this, right? Everyone is going to sign off on this is the new standard, and here's how we're going to implement it. Here's how I'm going to manage it in the short term as far as that implementation and making sure that we all get up to speed. And then here's the long-term management and how I'm going to continue checking in on you. And we use a shadow and audit model that we teach in the Gym Breakthrough program where, we show you how to actually introduce this, how to get the initial adoption and then that ongoing management piece. And it makes a huge difference. And if you're struggling with retention or engagement, this is, it's such an easy exercise relative to how big of an impact it can make for your business.
Yeah, I love this shadow and audit tip. Another one that I'll throw out, because you as the owner can't be everywhere every class, we actually poll our members and ask our members, is this coach that you're reviewing calling you by name every class? Do you feel like you're being coached? Do you feel like you've gotten better at the skills that you're working on since you've been here? And that way, if something does happen and we are not there as the person auditing the class, we find out about it. And our coaches know that we do this. They know that, we are following up and making sure that these things are being executed every time.
Love that. Okay, so now that we've gone through how to structure the class and how to kind of roll this out, is there anything else you want to add to this, Emily, on how someone listening to this episode may be able to any guidance on where to start or other things to consider in doing this?
Yeah, again, I think it's just very important to be clear with your expectations. If you don't document it, write it down, make sure that everybody understands. If you're having a problem with a coach, then that's on you. Like, you need to define what excellence is so your coaches, again, can rise to that expectation. You need to be relentless in your approach to how your coaches perform. Otherwise, it's a free-for-all, and they're just going to do the least amount as possible, right?
Preach it, coach. Extreme ownership. Guys,
Yeah.
If your classes aren't all on point or you have a weak link that is, where a coach is not delivering, it is not their fault. It is your fault. It is your opportunity at the same time. Remember, if anything is your fault, that means it's also your opportunity to correct it. And this is a very easy way to get your average way up. And this is something that can seem very simple, and you can get so nerdy and so detailed in crafting these experiences, which, by the way, these are the things that the franchises do that make them stand out. This is how they're able to bring someone in who really isn't even that good of a coach, if really a coach at all, to run sessions that feel like a very high quality experience, right? This is what Orange Theory does. This is what Barry's Bootcamp does. This is what every fitness franchise under the sun does, is they identify their experience and then they figure out how to make it as templated as possible and as dummy proof as possible so they can plug the lowest common denominator in to make it happen. Now, I'm not saying that you should be plugging the lowest common denominator in, but it certainly does allow you to get people into your coach's ecosystem and deliver what feels like a much better and much more consistent experience and look more advanced while you are still training them and getting them up to speed. I think one of the biggest challenges in this industry is finding good staff. And because a lot of people say, well, we're so good now, it's really hard for me to plug someone in that is not, some seasoned pro from the outside who probably has ambitions of owning their own gym or whatnot. We're all fighting over the good coaches in our communities, right? And one of the big missed opportunities, I think, is building people from the inside out. And if you've got a really good, clearly identified class structure that you know how to implement, this is how we're going to initially train you, and I'm going to continue to audit you to make sure it continuously improves forever. You can plug someone in earlier, have them do a much better job, because you can still be there to guide and shadow them and help them through that, but you can get someone going much faster. And now you don't have to find this like diamond in the rough super coach that you plug in right out of the gate, and you can have a lot more flexibility with your coaching staff or you need time off or backup coaches and all that. I find this is just an area that a lot of people get stuck on when we talk about coaching staff, team development, and all that.
It's not something that you do just once either. It's not, hey, let's have this conversation once, define what it is, and go along our merry way. You have to continue to check in 100%. And make sure that the standards are being held. This is something that we do in our coaches review every 6 months. They read the handbook, which includes our ideal class experience in it, and they do a self-assessment and say, yep, based on these standards, I am either meeting expectations, exceeding expectations, or not meeting expectations. And then they have to tell me why. They have to tell me examples of when they went above and beyond to create relationships with our members. And, literally write down examples of when they were doing these things that we've asked them to do. So, yeah,
100%.
Check in often.
Yeah, that's probably actually the most important piece to this, is that it's not about doing it once, because doing it once and then just hoping that they're going to do it is, again, probably the most common issue we see in just all delegation problems, is that people say, oh God, I'm just so glad I checked that box and I never have to touch it again. What? No, you don't. If you put something in place, you have to measure it. Otherwise, it's not being managed. And if it's not being managed, you are straight up Russian rouletting your service, because it may get better for a moment, but people get comfortable. We all get comfortable. That's the human condition, is that we settle, right? But if someone is constantly on top of you about, hey, we can do this a little bit better. Hey, you know what? You didn't use her name. Or you know what? That intro was good. I think you can do an even better job. Like what you talked about with your coach, and that inspired you so much. You have to be that person for your staff. And if not you, someone has to be responsible for making sure that that standard is always improving. It can never be the same. It always needs to be getting a little bit better. I don't care if someone's been coaching for 15 years. You can always make the experience better. It's about the connection, right? And if you are not on top of that consistently, it will get stale, and then it will regress. And at some point, you'll find yourself having some coaches doing a lot better than others, and now you're right back to where you started.
Yeah, we talk about systems all the time, and maybe people aren't thinking of this as a system. They're thinking about it as like a class template. But really, this is a system, right?
100%.
This is lots of moving parts, and it's defining what excellence means and then holding people accountable to that standard. But this is your product, guys. This is it.
Exactly.
The class experience is what you are delivering. So when you are thinking about systemizing your business, this is the first place to start, because this is what you're selling.
Exactly right. Well said. And on that note, I think we did it justice. Hopefully, this was helpful for you guys. Your classes are your product, guys. So take it seriously. And treat it like a system, and it'll be something that'll continuously improve, and that's beneficial to you, that's beneficial to your coaches, that's beneficial to your members. Everybody wins. This is not a one-time thing where you're like, oh cool, I got it a little bit better. If you keep working at it, you will retain coaches better. They will have more value in their jobs. because they are constantly improving. You are making them better, right? And making them better is better for your members, and it's better for business. So on that note, I want to thank all of you guys for joining us today. Emily, thanks for coming along and dropping bombs with me today. We hope this episode was helpful for all of you. And if you are interested in learning how we can help you get your business up to speed and rocking and rolling, I encourage you, visit gymbreakthrough.com, schedule a breakthrough session with me, and we'll see where you're at, where you're trying to go, and see if we can help you get there. For now, that's it for today, and we'll see you guys on the next episode. Have a great rest of your day. But until then, bye-bye.